Welcome back to another Animal Notebook Explainer. Today, we're looking at a creature that usually sparks immediate fear the second you hear it, but is actually a total marvel of biological engineering. So let's just dive right into it with our topic for today, rattlesnakes, remarkable facts behind the rattle. When you see these incredible animals out in their natural, arid habitats, the first thing that really strikes you is just how perfectly camouflaged they are against the dry, rocky terrain. They just melt right into the desert floor. And that camouflage kind of sets the perfect stage for us to look past our initial fear and uncover their remarkable biology. Because, the truth is, they aren't monsters lying in wait to attack us. They're just highly specialized predators trying to survive. So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the anatomy of a viper, look at their life as an ambush predator, check out their life cycle and behavior, talk about coexisting safely, and then we'll wrap the whole thing up with some rapid-fire rattlesnake FAQs.
All right, Section 1, Anatomy of a Viper, built for survival.
You know, rattlesnakes belong to a specific group known as pit vipers, and they literally get this name from something called loreal pits. These are highly specialized organs located right between the eye and the nostril. And these tiny little pits give rattlesnakes a literal superpower, the ability to detect infrared radiation or body heat from warm-blooded prey. We're talking about the ability to sense a mouse scurrying nearby, even in total pitch-black darkness.
It's honestly like they have two overlapping sensory systems working at the exact same time. Their eyes process visible light, while those pit organs, they act just like built-in thermal cameras. By layering that visible light with the thermal information, rattlesnakes can perfectly map out their surroundings. It gives them a completely unparalleled advantage when they're hunting at night.
And of course, all of this builds to their absolute most famous feature, right? The tail. The iconic rattle is actually made of interlocking segments of keratin, which, by the way, is the exact same protein that makes up your fingernails and hair. When they feel threatened, specialized shaker muscles vibrate that rattle up to 50 times per second. That's actually among the fastest sustained muscle contractions we know of in any vertebrate on Earth. It is an incredibly effective high-speed warning system.
Moving right along to Section 2, the ambush predator, precision hunting.
When we break down their daily habits, the really crucial thing to note is their diet. They primarily eat mice, rats, ground squirrels, and sometimes even small birds and lizards. And because of this diet, they actually act as essential, natural pest controllers. By keeping rodent populations in check, they actively reduce agricultural damage and literally slow the spread of rodent-borne diseases. And they pull off this pest control through a highly efficient ambush strategy. They don't burn precious energy chasing their food down. Instead, step 1, they just wait in position near high-traffic animal trails. Step 2, when a meal approaches, they strike with those hollow fangs and inject a complex hemotoxic venom. Step 3, they immediately withdraw safely. This strike-and-release method keeps the snake safe from a desperately scratching rodent. And finally, step 4, once the venom immobilizes the prey, the snake tracks it down by scent to consume it.
Okay, Section 3, life cycle and behavior beyond the bite.
Tracking their timeline is super fascinating because right at year 0, they are born live and fully formed. They don't hatch from eggs in the sand. By year 1, they're shedding their skin, sometimes a few times a year, and they actually add a new segment to their rattle with each shed. If they manage to avoid early predators, they can have a lifespan of 10 to 25 years out in the wild. Oh, and during cold winters, they do this thing called brewmating, which is basically the reptile version of hibernation, and they often gather in huge communal dens to share warmth. Which brings us to Section 4, coexisting safely, respecting the rattle.
Now, if you take nothing else away from this explainer, just remember this. Rattlesnakes genuinely prefer to avoid confrontation entirely. That rattle is not a battle cry. It's just a polite, albeit very loud, request for you to back off. If you give them space, they will almost always choose to retreat rather than strike.
So let's run through a quick, practical safety checklist. If you see one, just stay calm and give it plenty of space. But if a bite does occur, keep the bitten limb completely still to slow the venom spread. And please, forget everything you've seen in old westerns. Absolutely no tourniquets, no cutting the wounds, and definitely no trying to suck out the venom. Those outdated methods actually cause significantly more tissue damage. The bottom line here is that a rattlesnake bite should always be treated as a medical emergency, period. You need to seek professional care immediately. But the really good news is that modern medical treatments, specifically antivenom, are incredibly effective and life-saving when they're administered promptly. All right, wrapping things up with Section 5, Rattlesnake FAQs, Rapid-Fire Myth-Busting. Let's tackle 4 of the most common questions to clear up some final myths.
First up, do rattlesnakes actually lay eggs? The answer is no. Like we touched on earlier, they are what scientists call ovoviviparous. Basically, that means they do produce eggs, but those eggs are kept safely inside the mother's body until they hatch internally. Then she gives birth to live babies, sometimes over 24 at a time, depending on the species.
Which leads perfectly into question 2. Are baby rattlesnakes actually venomous?
Yes, they absolutely are. They might look tiny, but newborns come fully equipped. They have the fangs, they have the venom, and they know exactly how to use them immediately after birth. Because of this, they demand the exact same respect and distance as a fully grown adult.
Moving on to question 3. Does the rattle indicate the snake's age? Like, can you just count the segments? Interestingly, no. It's a common myth, but they actually add a segment every single time they shed, which can be multiple times a year. Plus, because they live in these rugged, rocky environments, the older segments at the end of the tail snap off all the time. So counting the rattles is never a reliable way to gauge their age. And finally, question 4. What role do rattlesnakes actually play in ecosystems? Like, why should we care about protecting them? They are absolutely vital natural predators. They actively regulate rodent populations, which in turn massively reduces agricultural pests and stops the spread of diseases. They are a total linchpin in the food web. So, knowing all this incredible biology and the vital services they provide, can we learn to overcome our instinctual fear and just respect their space so our ecosystems remain perfectly balanced? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we'll see you next time.